We have a shocking New York Jets free agency update as Mike Rutenberg has joined Jeff Ulbrich's defense in Atlanta, and this could have serious implications on the New York Jets linebackers, such as Quinnen Williams and especially Jamien Sherwood, who's a free agent this offseason, and we're going to break it all down because this will obviously have a huge effect on what happens in the Jets offseason now. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris here, and if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe. It helps us out a ton. 20% of viewers are subscribed, and if you're part of that 80% that's unsubscribed, make sure to jump to the other side if you want daily New York Jets news, updates, Matt's mock drafts, tons of fun stuff. Live streams and TikToks are coming to the channel very soon. We got so much free agency news to talk about. You guys really don't want to miss out. But let's jump into this because, guys, we learned something interesting today that Jeff Ulbrich has brought in Mike Gutenberg to his Atlanta Falcons defense. Now, as we know by now, Jeff Ulbrich was hired by the Atlanta Falcons to be the defensive coordinator, a role that he obviously accepted, and now he's gone off the New York Jets, and he brought Rutenberg with him. Rutenberg was the Jets linebackers coach, and guys like Quinnen Williams and Jamien Sherwood came up with him. I mean, Quinnen Williams completely broke out onto the scene and has been one of the best players on the Jets and one of the best defenders on the Jets very recently. And also Jamien Sherwood, who won Jets team MVP this year, as the other players voted, is also a name who broke out under Rutenberg and Ulbrich. Now they're both in Atlanta. Now, as Jamie Fowler mentioned, the Falcons are hiring Jets linebackers coach Mike Gutenberg as the defensive pass game coordinator. Rutenberg spent 4 years in New York working with Atlanta defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, helping develop young standouts such as Quinnen Williams and Jamien Sherwood. And Rich Cimini mentioned that with Ulbrich and Rutenberg in Atlanta, it wouldn't be a surprise if the Falcons make a run at Jamien Sherwood in free agency, which is obviously terrifying. Look, Jamien Sherwood deserved to win team MVP for the New York Jets last year. I mean, he took over for C.J. Mosley once Mosley went down with an injury. And the man just looked like C.J. Mosley. He was tackling everybody. He was good in the pass defense. Jamien Sherwood was one of the best, if not the best player on the Jets last season. He was a rare mark of consistency that this team struggled to find. And now it's free agency. He broke out the year before free agency, and it's expected for him to return to the New York Jets. But a bunch of teams are going to be interested in the middle linebacker services. And you look at Sherwood now, you know the Falcons are going to be interested. Rutenberg and Ulbrich are going to want to bring him in, and he's going to get offers that the Jets are going to have to compete with, and the Jets have to do everything they can to keep Jamien Sherwood in the green and white because they have other holes to fill on the defensive part of things. I mean, DJ Reed is going to leave the New York Jets. He's been open about that. The Jets could obviously draft Will Johnson in the NFL draft at 7th overall, and that could help them a lot with an elite cornerback trio of Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter in the slot, and then also having Will Johnson. Now, on top of that, it'd be nice to have Jamien Sherwood around because the Jets, well, they did run a one-man middle linebacker defense. We could see that potentially change away from what they were doing, but that's yet to be seen. We're going to see what Aaron Glenn wants to run with the New York Jets. He's a blitz-heavy type guy, so we'll see if any adjustments really happen, which we should expect them to. But right now, Jamien Sherwood is a consistency, and the good news is the Jets brought in Aaron Glenn as their head coach, and that still feels so good to say, but Glenn's someone that players want to play for. Again, we were surprised. It was surprising that the Jets were able to get Aaron Glenn because how many teams wanted him, and the Jets never get their pick of the litter. So this was a huge, huge upgrade for them. And you look at how players on the Jets responded. It was across-the-board excitement that he was going to be the next head coach. That's very good for a guy like Sherwood, who now gets to get sold on a new head coach, on a new regime, on a guy who helped turn things around, and a guy who's a defensive specialist in Aaron Glenn. I think this is going to be an excellent motivator for Jamien Sherwood to stick around outside of following coaches who just led the Jets to a 5-12 season. So there is that. But other teams outside of the Falcons will probably show interest in Jamien Sherwood. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't. Sherwood, this season in the offseason by Pro Football Focus, is ranked as the 6th best linebacker and the 66th best player in free agency. And as mentioned by PFF, Sherwood burst onto the scene in a full-time role as injuries continued to hamper veteran C.J. Mosley. With a similar hair-on-fire playing style to follow Jets linebacker Quinnen Williams, Sherwood's emergence from safety to linebacker was a rare bright spot for a disappointing year from top to bottom. If the presumed departure of C.J. Mosley due to retirement or free agency comes to fruition, perhaps Sherwood could stick around heading into 2025. I expect Sherwood to stick around, and more importantly, I do expect CJ Mosley to not retire. I expect him to leave in free agency. Mosley is still a very solid player. He's dealing with injuries, and he's 35 years old, so his time in the NFL is coming to an end. But teams would still bring him on. He's an excellent leader. He's a veteran. He's still a great, great NFL player. And I just expect CJ Mosley to probably be some sort of salary cap casualty by the New York Jets, which would make sense. You move forward with Sherwood, and you thank CJ Mosley for, in just this awful run the Jets have had. CJ Mosley came into this team and wanted to change things around it. He was one of the many signings the Jets had in an offseason that really felt like we were getting some hope. They brought in Tremaine Johnson, who just was one of the worst contracts in recent history. They brought in Barr for around 4 seconds before he backed out of the deal and went back to the Vikings, which kind of sucked. But CJ Mosley also came to the New York Jets, and Mosley, he did everything he could. He really did. So it sucks to see CJ Mosley leave, but I'm also happy that he's going to go somewhere else and try to contend. I hope he doesn't retire, and I really don't think he's going to retire. I think we will see CJ Mosley out there still playing in the NFL, hopefully for a contender. The man deserves it. It was just an awesome leader for the New York Jets, but it's a perfect time for him to depart. He helped mentor Jamien Sherwood, who could now take over as the next version of CJ Mosley, who gets homegrown by the New York Jets and helps be part of this turnaround the way that other guys have said they wanted to. Sauce Gardner's been adamant that he does not want to leave the Jets. He wants to be part of this change, of the change of the guard, just getting back to the playoffs. He wants to be on that team. He's one of those guys. He's running towards the battle. He's not running away from it. And I expect the Jets can sell Sherwood on the same thing, especially with a new regime coming in. New GM, new head coach, new defensive coordinator, which is going to matter for Sherwood. The offensive coordinator might matter for Sherwood as well, but, obviously not as much for obvious reasons. It's just a very interesting time to be a New York Jets fan right now, and it feels like there's hope for the first time in a while. Now, speaking of hope, Jamien Sherwood talked on his free agency, and it didn't leave me with the biggest sense of hope, but it wasn't necessarily bad. Now, as Sherwood said, obviously, if given the opportunity, I would return to the Jets, but I'm going to let God decide all that. When the time comes, it will come. I feel the organization will do a good job in picking the guy they want. I can only control what I can control. If I'm meant to be here, then I will. Look, not a bad thing that Jamien Sherwood said at all. It's just not necessarily like, oh, I want to be back. He said he'll return if they want him back, which is a good sign, but what else is he going to say? And he's kind of acting like he has no idea if the Jets want him back. Look, Jamien Sherwood has an agent. He knows the Jets want him back. He's not just not paying any attention. He knows the New York Jets want him back, just to be very, very clear on that. But where Jamien Sherwood is at right now, I do expect him to get some offers. I expect the Jets to ensure that they won't lose out on him so they could keep Quinnen Williams and Jamien Sherwood as their up-and-coming linebacker duo. They do need another linebacker that they will need to find somewhere, whether that's the draft. I wish they could find a way to get Abdul Carter, but there's a 0% chance that he's falling to 7th. And also, he's more of an edge rusher. But still, the Jets are going to have to find another linebacker. However, Jamien Sherwood and CJ Mosley should be sticking around. I'd be kind of surprised if they didn't, in all honesty. Now, Sherwood had a great season last year. 98 solo tackles, 2 sacks. Great year by him. And you look at how things play out. The man had the most solo tackles of anyone in the NFL last season. He was just literally reincarnated CJ Mosley. He just was. That's exactly who he was. He was reincarnated CJ Mosley. And the Jets need to ensure they keep him around, especially after just the sheer breakout season he's had. Now starting 16 of the 17 games after Mosley went down. After starting 3-0-4 games the year prior, and his rookie year with the Jets in 2021, he was a defensive back playing safety. So things changed around, and now since he's become a linebacker, he's truly broken out. We've seen flashes of it over the past years or so, but this year it all came to fruition, and Sherwood's been awesome. I don't want the Jets to lose him, and I really don't think they will, but it is something that we have to consider as a possibility. However, if you ask me today, I do expect Jamien Sherwood to be back on Aaron Glenn's defense at the beginning of next season. The Jets are going to have to pay for him, but that's completely fine. Obviously, the salary cap is a question mark. It depends on what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. It depends on what's happening with Davante Adams. There's a world where both of them get waived and then get brought back on reworked contracts. If they don't do that, I just imagine they're leaving in general. I don't think their contracts are going to stay the way they are, if I'm being honest. But we will see, and once we hear about that and any other Jets news, we will make a video on it. So, guys, make sure you subscribe to Jets Digest, like this video, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.